Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Nature channel. Before we begin, take a moment to settle in wherever you are. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Feel the weight of your body supported by whatever holds you right now. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it go gently, like a leaf drifting down from a branch. Good. Tonight, we're going to wander together through the soft world of bird voices. Not the science of it, but the feeling, the way birds fill the air with meaning, the way they speak to each other in the early light and the fading dusk. You don't need to do anything but listen. Let the words carry you, like a warm current of air beneath wings. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a meadow just as the sun begins to rise. The grass is cool and damp. The air smells of earth and something green. And all around you, slowly, the birds begin to speak. A robin is often the first. Its voice rises in the half-dark, clear and bright, like water falling over smooth stones. It sings from a low branch, and the song is simple. A few phrases repeated, each one curling upward at the end. This is not random. The robin is saying, I am here. This branch, this tree, this part of the morning, it is mine. It's a gentle claim, a soft boundary drawn in sound. Nearby, another robin hears. It doesn't answer right away. It listens, tilting its small head, and then it sings back from farther off. The two voices don't clash. They weave together, each bird respecting the space of the other, their songs like two threads of the same color, separate but harmonious. You notice that the robin's song changes slightly as the light grows. In the deep gray before dawn, the notes are slower, almost tentative. But as the sky turns pale blue and gold, the song quickens, becomes more insistent. The bird is not just claiming space now. It's celebrating the day, welcoming the warmth that will soon touch its feathers. Farther into the meadow, a blackbird begins. Its voice is richer, deeper than the robin's, like honey poured slowly from a jar. The blackbird doesn't repeat its phrases the same way. Each one is a little different, a small improvisation, as if the bird is composing as it goes. Scientists have found that blackbirds in cities sing differently than those in the countryside. They raise their pitch to be heard over the hum of traffic, the rumble of buses. But here, in this quiet place, the blackbird's song is low and full, filling the air without needing to shout. The blackbird pauses between phrases. In that pause, you can hear other things, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a crow, the soft whisper of the wind. The bird is not just singing, it's listening too, making space for the world around it. A wren appears in the hedgerow, tiny and quick. Its song is astonishing for such a small creature, loud, rapid, bubbling over like a stream tumbling down a hillside. The wren sings with its whole body, its feathers trembling, its throat pulsing. This is a territorial song, yes, but it's also exuberance, the sheer joy of being alive on this particular morning. You might wonder how such a small bird produces such a big sound. Inside its body, air sacs work like bellows, pushing air through its syrinx, the bird's voice box located deep in its chest, where the windpipe splits. Unlike your voice, which comes from a single source, a bird's voice can produce two sounds at once, each side of the syrinx working independently. This is why some bird songs sound layered, complex, almost impossible. The wren's song lasts only a few seconds, but in that time, it delivers more than 100 notes. Then silence. Then Another burst. The bird is tireless, singing again and again, its voice a bright thread stitching through the morning. If you'd like, leave a comment and tell me which bird voice you find most beautiful. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you're enjoying this, a gentle like helps others find their way here too. A wood pigeon calls from the oak tree. Its voice is soft and round. Hoo, 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 hoo. The rhythm is steady, almost hypnotic. This is a different kind of language, not sharp and territorial, but soothing, repetitive, meant to calm. The wood pigeon is calling to its mate, a low conversation that says, I am here, you are there, we are safe. Pigeons and doves belong to a group of birds that coo rather than sing. The sound is made by vibrating air in the throat, producing those low, rolling notes that seem to echo softly even in open space. It's a sound that doesn't demand attention. It invites it gently. Nearby, two sparrows are having a conversation. It's not a song exactly, but a series of chirps, short, sharp, overlapping. One chirps, the other answers. They're perched on a fence post, and if you watch closely, you can see their heads bobbing, their bodies turning slightly toward each other. This is social chatter, the bird equivalent of small talk, maintaining bonds, checking in. Sparrows are highly social. They live in loose flocks, and they talk to each other constantly throughout the day. Quick updates, little confirmations. I found seeds here. I see you. All is well. Their voices blend into the background of human life so easily that we often don't notice them, but they are always there, always speaking. A goldfinch lifts into the air with a liquid, tinkling call. Tee-dee-dit, tee-dee-dit. It's a flight call, different from a song. Many birds have these short, simple sounds they make while moving from place to place. The goldfinch's call is bright and cheerful, like tiny bells. It helps the flock stay together, each bird announcing its position, keeping track of the others even when they can't see each other clearly. You hear the flight call fade as the goldfinch moves away, then reappear as it circles back. The sound traces its path through the air, invisible but unmistakable. A crow lands in the field. Its voice is harsh compared to the songbirds, a loud, grating caw. But listen closely, and you'll notice the crow doesn't just repeat the same call over and over. Sometimes the caw is short and sharp. Sometimes it's drawn out, almost questioning. Sometimes it comes in a series like knocking on a door. Crows have one of the most complex vocal systems of any bird. They can vary pitch, rhythm, and intensity to convey different meanings. The crow you're listening to calls once, sharply. Another crow, perched on a distant tree, answers. Then a third joins in. They're not singing, they're talking, exchanging information. There's food here. I see a hawk. Stay close. Crows can recognize individual humans, remember faces, and even warn each other about specific people they've learned to distrust. Their calls are not just noise, they're language, rich and functional. You watch the crow tilt its head, its black eye bright and knowing. It makes a softer sound now, almost a murmur, directed at the crow beside it. This is a quieter voice, the one used between family members, between friends. Even harsh-voiced birds have gentle moments. In the reeds by the pond, a sedge warbler is singing. Its song is unlike anything you've heard so far, chaotic, urgent, full of sudden changes. It jumps from note to note, without warning, as if trying to cram every possible sound into one performance. This is deliberate. The sedge warbler is showing off, proving to potential mates that it knows many songs, that it has traveled, that it has listened and learned. Young male sedge warblers listen to other birds and mimic them. The more species they can imitate, the more attractive they become. A single sedge warbler song might include phrases borrowed from swallows, sparrows, thrushes, even the creaking sound of a gate or the buzz of an insect. It's a collage, a wild improvisation, and it works. The warbler pauses, breathless, then begins again, just as intense. You can feel the energy in its voice, the effort. Singing like this is hard work. It requires calories, focus, strength. A bird that can sing this powerfully is a bird that is healthy, well-fed, capable. Above you, a swift screams past. Its call is high and piercing, a long, thin shriek that cuts through the air. Swifts almost never stop flying. They eat, drink, even sleep on the wing, and their voices are built for speed and distance. The scream carries far, helping swifts locate each other in the vast open sky. When a group of swifts gathers, their screams blend into a wild chorus full of excitement and motion. You hear them circling overhead, their calls weaving together, rising and falling. It sounds like celebration, like pure, unburdened freedom. A chaffinch is singing in the hawthorn. Its song is structured, predictable, a descending series of notes ending in a flourish, like a question mark, made of sound. The chaffinch sings the same song over and over, but each time it's slightly different. A note held a fraction longer, a trill added or removed. This is practice, refinement. Young chaffinches learn their song by listening to their fathers, and they spend weeks perfecting it, adjusting it until it feels right. In some regions, chaffinches have distinct dialects. A chaffinch in one valley might sing a slightly different song than one in the next valley over, even though they're the same species. It's like an accent, a local flavor. Birds from different areas can still understand each other, but they know you're not from here. The chaffinch stops singing and gives a short, sharp call. Pink. This is an alarm. Something has disturbed it. You look up and see a cat slinking through the grass. The chaffinch calls again, louder. Other birds fall silent or join in with their own alarm calls. The cat pauses, annoyed by the noise, and turns away. Alarm calls are one of the most important parts of bird language. Different calls mean different dangers. A sharp, high-pitched call often means aerial predator, hawk or falcon. A lower, harsher call means ground predator, cat or fox. Birds can even adjust the urgency of the call depending on how close the danger is. The cat moves off, and slowly the birds begin to sing again. The chaffinch returns to its perch, fluffs its feathers, and resumes its song. The world is safe once more. If you're finding peace in these stories, feel free to explore the playlist. There are many more quiet journeys waiting for you there. A blackcap is hidden deep in the brambles. You can't see it, but you can hear it. A beautiful, fluty song, rich and melodious. The blackcap is one of the finest singers in the woods, and it knows it. The song rises and falls, each phrase perfectly formed, perfectly delivered. There's a confidence in it, a quiet mastery. The blackcap sings for territory and for love, but also, it seems, for the simple pleasure of singing. Some birds sing less once they've attracted a mate and secured a nesting site. Not the blackcap. It continues, day after day, filling the woods with music. You close your eyes and let the blackcap's song wash over you. It feels like being held, like being told that everything in this moment is exactly as it should be. A great tit calls from the willow, "Teacher, teacher, teacher." Its voice is loud and clear, 2 notes repeated insistently. This is one of the most recognizable songs in the woods, simple but effective. The great tit is announcing itself, staking its claim, and it does so with absolute certainty. Great tits are adaptable. In cities, they sing at a higher pitch to be heard over traffic. In forests, their songs are lower, richer. They adjust, they survive, they thrive, and they keep singing. A pair of doves is cooing to each other in the sycamore tree. The sound is so soft you almost mistake it for the wind, but it's steady, rhythmic, a gentle pulse that feels like a heartbeat. One dove coos, the other answers. Back and forth, a quiet conversation that has no urgency, no stress, just presence. Just, I am here, and you are here, and that is enough. Doves mate for life, and they maintain their bond with these soft calls, these gentle check-ins throughout the day. It's a language of reassurance, of tenderness. You listen, and you feel your own breathing slow to match the rhythm of their voices. A song thrush begins in the ash tree, and its voice is extraordinary. Unlike most birds, the song thrush repeats each phrase 2 or 3 times before moving to the next. Did he do it? Did he do it? Did he do it? Come out, come out, come out. Pretty bird, pretty bird, pretty bird. It's hypnotic, this pattern, and it makes the song easy to recognize even from a distance. The thrush's voice is loud and clear, carrying across the meadow. It's one of the first birds to sing in the morning and one of the last to stop in the evening. Some song thrushes even sing at night, especially in spring, their voices floating through the darkness like lanterns. You imagine the thrush perched high on a branch, its speckled chest puffed out, its head thrown back in song. It's small, but its voice fills the world. A nightingale would sing here too, if it were later in the spring. The nightingale is famous for its song, complex, powerful, rich with trills and whistles and sudden bursts of melody. But the nightingale's real gift is its timing. It sings at night when most other birds are silent, and its voice becomes the only sound in the world. People have written poems about it, songs about it, because hearing a nightingale in the dark is like hearing the earth itself speak. Even now, in daylight, you can imagine it, the stillness, the single voice rising, the way the world seems to hold its breath and listen. A jay shrieks from the oak wood. It's a loud, harsh sound, kek, 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 and it breaks the softness of the morning. But the jay is not being aggressive. It's warning the others. There's a fox moving through the undergrowth, and the jay wants everyone to know. Jays are watchful birds, always alert. They act as sentinels for the forest, their loud calls spreading news quickly. Other birds, and even deer, squirrels, and rabbits, pay attention when a jay sounds the alarm. It's a shared language, understood across species. The jay's call fades, and the forest settles again. The fox moves on, and the danger passes. A coal tit sings in the pine tree, a high, sweet voice, thinner than the great tits, but no less beautiful. The coal tit prefers conifers, and its song has a slight resinous quality, as if it has absorbed the scent of pine needles. It sings quickly, a rapid series of notes, then pauses, listening, then sings again. Coal tits are small and quick, always moving, always exploring. Their voices reflect this, bright, energetic, full of life. A linnet is singing from the gorse bush. Its song is musical and varied, full of sweet, twittering notes that tumble over each other like water over pebbles. The linnet sings while perched, but also in flight, delivering its song to the air itself, to the wide open sky. Linnets often sing in small groups, especially outside the breeding season. Their voices blend and overlap, creating a soft chorus that drifts across heathlands and meadows. It's a social song, a celebration of community. You can almost see them, small brown birds with rosy red breasts gathered on the gorse, their voices bright against the green and gold of the bushes. A skylark rises into the air. You can't see it at first. It's too small, too high. But you can hear it. The skylark's song is one of the most joyful sounds in nature. A continuous, bubbling, cascading stream of notes that pours down from the sky like sunlight. The bird climbs higher and higher, singing all the while, until it's just a speck against the blue. And still it sings. The skylark can sing for minutes without stopping, hovering in place, wings beating steadily. It's showing strength, endurance, vitality. I am here, it says. I can do this. I am worthy. The song fills the whole sky, and you tip your head back to listen, letting the sound wash over you like rain. If this feels good, if this helps you breathe a little easier, leave a like. It's a small thing, but it means the world. A yellowhammer is perched on a fence post. Its song is short and rhythmic, a little bit of bread and no cheese. That's how people remember it, by fitting words to the rhythm. The yellowhammer sings this phrase over and over with only slight variations. It's cheerful, insistent, and somehow endearing. The yellowhammer's voice is thin, but carries well across open fields. It sings from exposed perches, fence posts, low branches, the tops of hedgerows, places where it can be seen and heard. It's not hiding. It's announcing itself to the world. A barn owl would hunt here at dusk. Its voice is not a song but a shriek, a long, eerie, wavering cry that carries across the fields. It's a sound that makes people stop and listen, a sound that belongs to the edge of night. But the barn owl's voice is also practical. It helps pairs locate each other in the dark, and it warns rivals to stay away. The barn owl has other sounds too, soft clicks and hisses it makes in the nest, gentle conversations with its mate and chicks. Even the fiercest voiced birds have tender moments, quiet words meant only for those they love. A nuthatch calls from the oak tree, a sharp, repeated twit, twit, twit. It's loud for such a small bird, a clear announcement of presence. The nuthatch is moving headfirst down the trunk, probing the bark for insects, and it pauses every few seconds to call, as if to say, still here, still working, all is well. Nuthatches are curious, bold birds. Their calls are confident, direct. They don't waste energy on elaborate songs. They have work to do, and their voices reflect that practicality. A tree creeper is nearby, though you can barely hear it. Its song is one of the quietest in the forest, a thin, high trill that fades almost before it begins. The tree creeper creeps up tree trunks, spiraling around them, searching for tiny insects in the crevices of bark. It's easy to overlook, both in sight and sound, but it's there, adding its small voice to the chorus. Even the quietest birds sing, even the smallest voices matter. A magpie chatters from the rowan tree. Its voice is harsh, rattling. Chuck, chuck, chuck. It's not musical, but it's expressive. The magpie can vary its calls to convey different emotions: excitement, annoyance, curiosity. It's a smart bird, one of the few that can recognize itself in a mirror, and its voice reflects that intelligence. Magpies also mimic other sounds, other birds, even human voices and mechanical noises. In captivity, they've been known to learn words and phrases. In the wild, they incorporate these sounds into their chatter, creating a complex, ever-changing vocabulary. The magpie flies off with a loud clatter, its long tail streaming behind it, and the woods feel quieter in its absence. A willow warbler is singing in the willow tree by the stream. Its song is one of the most beautiful you've heard today, soft, descending, wistful. It sounds like a sigh, like the slow release of breath at the end of a long day. The notes cascade gently down the scale, each one falling into the next, until the song fades into silence. The willow warbler is a migrant. It spends the winter in Africa and flies thousands of miles to be here, to sing in this tree, in this moment. Its song carries the memory of deserts and savannas, of journeys taken in darkness, of stars and wind and endless sky. You listen, and you feel grateful that this small bird has traveled so far to be heard. A chiff-chaff is calling nearby. Chiff-chaff, chiff-chaff, chiff-chaff. Its name is its song, and it's one of the first migrants to arrive in spring. The chiff-chaff doesn't sing a melody. It just repeats those two notes, back and forth, endlessly. But there's comfort in the repetition, in the reliability. The chiff-chaff is here. Spring is here. The world is turning as it should. A house martin chatters as it swoops low over the pond. Its voice is soft and twittering, a rapid series of short notes that seem to blur together. House martins are aerial birds catching insects on the wing, and their calls help them coordinate their flight, stay close to each other, avoid collisions in midair. You watch the martin dip and rise, its white rump flashing in the sunlight, and you marvel at the grace of it, the ease. A swallow joins the martin, and their voices blend, soft chatter, quick and light, like laughter. Swallows and martins often feed together, their flight paths weaving in and out, their calls a constant cheerful conversation. Here, there, this way, together. It's a language of movement, of joy, of shared purpose. A green woodpecker calls from the far side of the meadow. Yuff, 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 yuff. It's a loud, laughing sound, bright and wild. People call it the yaffle, and once you've heard it, you never forget it. The green woodpecker is calling as it flies, its undulating flight carrying it over the grass, its voice announcing its presence to the world. Green woodpeckers also drum, hammering their beaks against wood in rapid bursts. This is not feeding behavior, it's communication. The sound carries far, and each woodpecker has its own rhythm, its own signature. It's drumming its name into the forest, saying, "This is me, this is mine." A rook is calling from the rookery, a softer caw than the crow's, less harsh. Rooks are social birds, living in large colonies, and their rookeries are loud, chaotic places full of constant chatter. But there's order in the chaos. Rooks talk to their neighbors, their mates, their young. They argue and reconcile. They warn and comfort. It's a community, noisy and alive. Feel free to share your own favorite bird moments in the comments below. I love hearing your stories. A redstart flicks its tail in the apple tree, and its song is quick and bright, full of little flourishes. The redstart is a summer visitor, and its voice is part of the soundtrack of warm days and long evenings. It sings from high perches, its orange tail catching the light, its voice clear and confident. The song is short, repeated often, and there's an eagerness to it, a sense of urgency. The redstart has only a few months here before it must leave again, and it makes the most of every moment. A jackdaw perches on the chimney calling, "Jack." It's a sharp metallic sound, and it carries across the village. Jackdaws are sociable and playful, often seen in pairs or small groups. They call to each other constantly, maintaining contact, coordinating their movements. Their voices are not beautiful, but they're full of character, full of personality. Jackdaws mate for life, and pairs stay close, often touching beaks, preening each other's feathers. Their calls to each other are softer, more intimate, small sounds meant only for their partner. Even in a flock, you can hear pairs talking to each other, their voices distinct among the crowd. A kestrel hovers above the field, and though it's silent, you imagine its voice, a sharp, rapid kee that it uses when alarmed or excited. Kestrels are hunters, and they often call when defending their nest or when seeing off intruders. The sound is fierce, cutting through the air like a blade. But kestrels also have softer calls, used between mates, gentle chitters and whistles exchanged in quiet moments. Even predators have tenderness in their language. A tawny owl is sleeping in the hollow tree, but come evening it will wake and call, hoo, hoo, hoo. The sound will drift through the darkening woods, deep and resonant, the voice of night itself. Tawny owls call to each other across the forest, the male's hoot answered by the female's sharper kee-wick. Together, they create the classic twit-twoo that everyone knows, though it's actually two birds, not one. The tawny owl's call is a marker of territory, but it's also a kind of companionship, a way of saying, "I am here in the dark and you are not alone." A moorhen is calling from the reeds, a sharp, explosive kirk. It's a loud sound for such a shy bird, and it startles you a little. Moorhens are secretive, preferring to stay hidden among the vegetation, but they're not silent. They call to each other constantly, especially when there are chicks to keep track of. The moorhen's call is functional, practical, no frills, no music, just clear communication. Stay close. Danger. Food here. It works, and that's enough. A heron stands at the water's edge, silent. Herons rarely call, but when they do, the sound is harsh and croaking, a loud crack that seems at odds with their elegant appearance. They call when disturbed, when taking flight, or when competing with other herons for space. It's a voice rarely heard, and all the more striking for its rarity. You watch the heron, still as stone, and you admire its patience, its silence. Sometimes the most powerful communication is no sound at all, just presence, just being. A dabbling duck quacks softly in the pond, a gentle conversational sound. Ducks are chatty birds, especially females. The hen mallard quacks to her ducklings, and they peep back, high and insistent. It's a constant dialogue, making sure everyone is accounted for, everyone is safe. The ducklings' peeps are urgent, almost frantic. "Where are you? I'm here. Don't leave me." And the mother's quacks are calm, reassuring. "I'm here. Stay close. You're safe." It's a language of care, of protection. A cuckoo calls in the distance, "Cuck-oo, cuck-oo." The sound is unmistakable, the voice of spring and early summer. The cuckoo's call is simple, but it carries far, echoing across valleys and woodlands. It's a male calling for a mate, announcing his arrival, claiming his space. The cuckoo is a brood parasite, laying its eggs in other birds' nests. But its voice is still honest, still beautiful. It's part of the soundscape, part of the rhythm of the year. When you hear the cuckoo, you know the world is turning, the seasons are changing, life is moving forward. A whitethroat is singing in the brambles, a scratchy, hurried song delivered with great enthusiasm. The whitethroat often sings in flight, rising a few feet into the air, then dropping back down, its voice tumbling out all the while. It's a messy song, not polished like the blackbirds or the nightingales, but it's full of energy, full of life. The whitethroat is another migrant, here for the summer, and its voice says, "I made it. I'm here. Let's begin." A grasshopper warbler is hidden deep in the reeds, and its song is unlike any other bird's. It's a continuous, high-pitched trill, like the sound of a fishing reel spinning or a cricket singing, but louder, longer, unbroken. The grasshopper warbler can sing this trill for minutes at a time, barely pausing for breath. It sounds mechanical, almost alien, and yet it's beautiful in its strangeness. You listen, and you realize the world is full of voices you've never noticed before, voices that have always been there, waiting to be heard. A pied wagtail calls from the path, "Chiswick, Chiswick." It's a sharp, cheerful sound, and the wagtail bobs its tail as it calls, as if the movement and the sound are connected, part of the same expression. Wagtails are always moving, always busy, and their voices reflect that restlessness. They call as they fly, quick bursts of sound that keep the flock together, that announce their presence, that say, "Here I am, still going, still alive." A buzzard circles high overhead, and its call drifts down, a mewing, plaintive sound like a cat crying. It's a strange voice for such a powerful bird, but it's effective. The buzzard's call carries far, and other buzzards answer, spiraling together on the thermals, their voices weaving through the sky. Buzzards are territorial, but they're also social, gathering in loose groups outside the breeding season. Their calls help them navigate these relationships, marking boundaries, but also acknowledging kinship. A long-tailed tit is calling from the hazel bush, a thin, high see, followed by a soft trill. Long-tailed tits travel in family groups, often a dozen or more birds moving through the trees together, and they call constantly to stay in contact. Their voices are like tiny bells, chiming softly as they flit from branch to branch. The family stays close, even outside the breeding season. Young birds from earlier broods help their parents raise the next generation, and the calls between them are full of familiarity, of trust. It's a language of family, of togetherness. You watch them move through the trees, their long tails streaming behind them, their voices bright and continuous, and you feel a warmth in your chest. This is what it looks like when a family takes care of each other. A goldcrest is singing high in the spruce tree, the smallest bird with one of the thinnest, highest voices. It's a delicate trill, so high-pitched that some people can't hear it at all. The goldcrest is no bigger than your thumb, and it weighs less than a coin, but it fills its tiny world with sound. The goldcrest's song is a thread of silver running through the forest, easy to miss, but once you hear it, you realize it's everywhere, part of the fabric of the woods. A firecrest would sound similar, but slightly lower, slightly more complex. Firecrests are rare, secretive, but their voices are worth listening for. Another tiny miracle, another small bird singing its heart out in the quiet places. A marsh tit calls from the alder, pitchu, pitchu. It's a clear, whistled sound, brighter than the willow tit's nasal ease, ease. Marsh tits and willow tits look almost identical, but their voices give them away. The marsh tit's call is cleaner, sharper, more musical. Bird watchers learn to identify birds by ear as much as by sight, because often the voice is the first clue, the first hint that a bird is there. A lesser whitethroat is singing in the elder tree, a quieter, more subdued song than the common whitethroats. It starts with a soft warble, then breaks into a rapid rattle, mechanical and urgent. The lesser whitethroat is shyer, harder to see, but its voice is distinctive once you know it. Each bird has its own signature, its own way of speaking. You can learn to read the landscape by listening, to know who's there without seeing, to feel less alone in the world, because the birds are always talking, always present. A hobby flies overhead, a small falcon, fast and agile. It doesn't call often, but when it does, the sound is sharp and rapid. Cue, cue, cue. Hobbies are summer visitors arriving to hunt dragonflies and small birds. Their calls are fierce, direct, the voice of a predator confident in its skill. But even hobbies have moments of quiet, of stillness. Even the fastest, sharpest voices rest. A turtle dove would call here if they still visited. Their voice is a soft, purring coo, turr, 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 turr. One of the most soothing sounds in nature. But turtle doves are rare now, their numbers declining, and their voice is heard less and less. When you do hear it, it feels like a gift, a memory, a reminder of what the world once sounded like. Feel free to check out the playlist for more stories like this, gentle journeys through the natural world. A reed bunting is singing from the top of a reed. Zip, zip, zip. Chi-oo. It's a simple song, but pleasant, delivered from an exposed perch where the bird can be seen and heard. The reed bunting's voice is part of the wetland soundscape, along with the rustle of reeds, the lap of water, the distant calls of ducks and coots. It's a layered world, full of voices, and each one adds to the whole. A stone chat calls from the fence post, wheat chock chock, a sharp, scolding sound. Stone chats are perky, bold little birds, and their calls reflect that attitude. They perch in the open, flicking their tails, calling loudly, unafraid. Their voices are part of heathlands and scrubby hillsides, places where the wind blows free and the sky is wide. A wind chat would sing nearby if the habitat were right. A softer, more musical song than the stone chats, with whistles and trills mixed together. Wind chats are migrants, and their voices carry the memory of African plains, of journeys undertaken in darkness, of the drive to return, to sing, to mate, to continue. A nightjar would call here at dusk in the right season, a strange, mechanical churring sound that goes on, almost hypnotic. The nightjar is a bird of twilight, invisible in the gloom, but its voice fills the air, vibrating through the warm evening. It's a sound that belongs to summer nights, to the edge of sleep, to the space between day and dark. A little owl calls from the barn, ki-oo, ki-oo. It's a sharp, yelping sound, and it startles you if you're not expecting it. Little owls are small, fierce, and vocal. They call throughout the night, especially in spring, their voices carrying across fields and farmyards. Little owls were introduced to Britain, but they've made themselves at home, and their voices are now part of the rural night, part of the chorus that marks the passage of time. the turn of the seasons. A corncrake would call here too, if the meadows were still managed in the old way. Its voice is a harsh, rasping crex, repeated endlessly through the night. Corncrakes are rare now, their habitat gone, but in some places you can still hear them, and the sound is like an echo of the past, a voice from a quieter, slower world. A pheasant crows from the copse, a loud, explosive sound followed by a rapid beating of wings. It's a territorial call, meant to be heard from far away, and it's effective. The pheasant's voice is harsh, abrupt, lacking any musical quality, but it's honest, direct, functional. Pheasants also make softer sounds, gentle clucks and murmurs when they're feeding, when they're calm. Even loud birds have quiet moments. A partridge calls from the field, chirrick, chirrick. It's a mechanical, rattling sound, and it carries well across open ground. Partridges are ground birds, and their calls help them stay in contact when they can't see each other through the crops or grass. It's a practical voice suited to their needs. A quail would call here too in the right conditions. A rhythmic wet my lips, a sound that seems to shimmer in the heat of summer afternoons. Quails are tiny, secretive, and their voices are often the only sign they're there. The call is soft but penetrating, and once you hear it, you start noticing it everywhere. A raven soars overhead, and its call is deep and resonant, a low croak that seems to come from the earth itself. Ravens are intelligent, playful, and their voices reflect that complexity. They have many calls, croaks, clicks, gurgles, even bell-like notes. They can mimic other sounds, and they seem to enjoy experimenting with their voices, trying new sounds, new rhythms. The raven's croak is ancient, primal. It's a voice that has echoed through mountains and forests for millennia, and hearing it now, you feel connected to something old, something enduring. A peregrine falcon calls from the cliff, kick, 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 sharp and rapid. It's a fierce sound, the voice of the fastest bird in the world, and it demands respect. Peregrines use their calls to defend their territory, to communicate with their mates, and to intimidate rivals. It's a voice that cuts through the air like the bird itself, direct and unstoppable. But peregrines also have softer calls, used in courtship, gentle chitters and whistles exchanged between pairs. Even the fiercest birds have tenderness hidden inside. A curlew calls from the moorland, a long, bubbling, rising whistle that sounds like liquid silver. It's one of the most beautiful bird calls in the world, haunting and wild, full of loneliness and space. The curlew's voice belongs to wide open places, to wind-swept hills and empty skies. Hearing it, you feel the vastness of the world, the wildness that still exists. Curlews are declining, their breeding grounds shrinking, and their voice is heard less often. When you do hear it, it feels precious, fragile, something to hold close and remember. A lapwing tumbles through the sky, calling, "Pee-wit, pee-wit." It's a sharp, yelping sound, and the lapwing delivers it while performing aerial acrobatics, diving and rising, its wings flashing black and white. The display is both visual and vocal, a full-body performance designed to impress. Lapwings are also called peewits, named after their call, and the sound is part of farmland and wetland soundscapes. It's a voice that speaks of open spaces, of fields and marshes, of places where the sky touches the ground. An oystercatcher calls from the estuary, a loud, piercing cleep, cleep, cleep. It's a bright, insistent sound, and it carries over the water mixing with the calls of other waders. Oyster catchers are bold, noisy birds, and they don't mind making themselves heard. Their calls are part of the coastal chorus, along with gulls and terns in the wash of the tide. A redshank calls nearby, too, 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 a softer, more musical sound than the oyster catchers. Redshanks are nervous birds, quick to alarm, and their calls often warn other birds of approaching danger. They're the sentinels of the mudflats, always watching, always alert. The redshank's alarm call is sharp and urgent, and when you hear it, you know something has disturbed the peace. Maybe a fox, maybe a human, maybe a bird of prey. The call spreads, and other birds take notice, ready to flee or hide. If you're enjoying this journey, a like would be wonderful. It helps others find their way to these peaceful moments. A Dunlin flocks with other waders, and their calls blend together, soft, rolling chirps and whistles that rise and fall as the flock moves in unison. Watching them, you see how the calls help coordinate their flight, how they move as one body, one voice, perfectly synchronized. It's a beautiful thing, this unity, this shared purpose. The birds call and they turn, and they are together, and they are safe. A curlew sandpiper calls from the shore, a soft, trilling chirrup. It's a gentle sound, and it gets lost easily in the noise of the estuary. But if you listen closely, it's there, a small voice among many, contributing to the whole. Every voice matters. Every call adds to the chorus. A knot flies past, and its call is short and sharp. Nut. It's a simple sound, functional, meant to keep the flock together as they move from one feeding ground to another. Knots travel thousands of miles on migration, and their voices help them stay connected across vast distances, across oceans and continents. A turnstone is probing the seaweed, and it calls as it works. Tuk-ka-tuk. It's a conversational sound, not loud, not showy, just a bird going about its business and letting others know it's there. The turnstone flips stones and shells searching for food, and its voice is part of the rhythm of its movements. A sanderling runs along the water's edge, and its call is a soft, liquid twick-twick. Sanderlings are tireless, always moving, chasing the waves in and out, and their voices are quick, light, full of energy. They seem to run on joy, on pure momentum, and their calls reflect that exuberance. You watch them skitter across the sand, their tiny legs a blur, and you can't help but smile. A ringed plover calls from the shingle, to lee. It's a clear, whistled sound, sweet and simple. Ringed plovers nest on beaches, and their calls are part of the summer soundtrack of the coast. The sound mixes with the crash of waves, the cry of gulls, the rustle of wind through morum grass. It's a layered soundscape, rich and full, and each voice has its place, its purpose. A little tern hovers over the water, calling, "Cree, cree, cree." It's a sharp, insistent sound, and the tern delivers it while hunting, hovering, plunging into the water after small fish. Little terns are tiny, delicate, and their voices are bright and fierce, full of determination. They nest on beaches, and they're fiercely protective of their nests, calling loudly at any intruder, diving and swooping to drive them away. Their voices are part of the defense, part of the warning. Stay away. This is ours. A common tern calls nearby, its voice similar but slightly harsher. Kick, kick, kick. Common terns and little terns often nest together, and their voices blend, creating a noisy, chaotic colony full of life and urgency. It's overwhelming at first, the sheer volume of sound. But if you listen closely, you can pick out individual voices, individual conversations. It's not chaos, it's community. An Arctic tern flies overhead, just passing through. Its call is sharper, more nasal than the common terns, and it signals the bird's incredible journey. Arctic terns migrate from pole to pole, seeing 2 summers every year, flying farther than any other bird. Their voices carry the memory of ice and midnight sun, of endless ocean and endless sky. Hearing an Arctic tern, you realize how small your world is, how vast theirs must be. A sandwich tern calls from the sandbar, a loud, grating carrick. Sandwich terns are larger, more powerful than other terns, and their voices are louder, harsher, more commanding. They nest in dense colonies, and the noise is incredible. Hundreds of birds calling at once, a wall of sound that fills the air. But within that noise, pairs recognize each other. Mates call, and their partners answer, finding each other by voice alone in the midst of the crowd. A black-headed gull calls from the pier, a harsh, laughing sound, almost human. Black-headed gulls are common, adaptable, and noisy. They call constantly, whether alone or in groups, and their voices are part of urban and rural soundscapes alike. Gulls have many calls: alarm calls, begging calls, mating calls, aggressive calls. They're expressive birds, and their voices convey a wide range of emotions and intentions. A herring gull cries from the rooftop, a long, mournful wail that rises and falls. It's the classic seagull call, the sound of the seaside, of harbors and piers and fishing boats. Herring gulls are large, bold, and loud, and they're not afraid to make themselves heard. Their calls can be annoying if you're trying to sleep, but they're also comforting in a way, a reminder of the coast, of open water, of salt air and freedom. A lesser black-backed gull calls from the breakwater, a deeper, more resonant call than the herring gulls. Lesser black-backed gulls are powerful birds, and their voices carry authority. They dominate the colony, and their calls reinforce that dominance. But even dominant birds have soft moments, quiet conversations with their mates, gentle sounds exchanged in private. A great black-backed gull stands alone on the rocks, silent for now. When it does call, the sound is deep and harsh, a low grunt or bark. Great black-backed gulls are the largest gulls, and they're fierce predators, taking eggs, chicks, even adult birds. Their voices are intimidating, and other gulls give them space. But they're still gulls, still part of the community, still raising chicks and defending nests, and living their lives in the same messy, noisy, beautiful way. Take a moment to leave a comment. If you have a favorite coastal bird, I'd love to hear about it. A kittiwake calls from the cliff ledge. Kittiwake, kittiwake. It's a cheerful, chattering sound, and it suits the bird's name perfectly. Kittiwakes nest on narrow ledges packed close together, and their colonies are loud, chaotic places full of constant chatter. Their voices echo off the cliffs, mixing with the crash of waves, the cries of other seabirds, and the wind. It's a wild, exhilarating soundscape, and it feels like the edge of the world, the place where land meets sea and sky. A gannet dives into the water with a tremendous splash, but before it dove, it called a harsh, grating urra. Gannets nest in huge colonies on remote islands and cliffs, and the noise is overwhelming. Thousands of birds calling, displaying, arguing, courting. It's one of the great natural spectacles, and the sound is as much a part of it as the sight. Gannets call to their mates, to their chicks, and to defend their tiny nesting territories. Their voices are loud, insistent, and they need to be. Competition is fierce, and only the loudest, strongest birds succeed. A fulmar glides past the cliff, silent and graceful. Fulmars rarely call, but when they do, the sound is a guttural cackling, almost mechanical. They're tubanoses, related to albatrosses, and they spend most of their lives at sea. Their voices are strange, unfamiliar, part of a world most people never see. A razorbill sits on the ledge, and its call is a low, growling sound. Razorbills are auks, diving birds that nest on cliffs, and they're quieter than gulls or kittiwakes, but they still call, especially when returning to the nest or greeting their mates. Their voices are part of the seabird chorus, quieter, deeper, adding texture and richness to the overall sound. A guillemot stands nearby, and its call is a growling, moaning sound. Har, har, har. Guillemots nest in dense colonies, packed shoulder to shoulder on narrow ledges, and they need to call loudly to be heard above the noise. Their voices are harsh, guttural, but also somehow comforting, the sound of a thriving colony, of life in abundance. Guillemot chicks recognize their parents' calls even before they hatch. They learn the voices from inside the egg, and when they emerge, they already know who to listen for, who to follow. A puffin stands at the entrance to its burrow, holding a beakful of fish. Puffins are quieter than other seabirds, and their calls are low, growling sounds, almost like the purring of a cat. They call mostly underground, in the burrows, and the sound is muffled by the earth, soft and secret. Puffins are beloved with their bright beaks and comical expressions, but their voices are rarely heard. They're shy, private birds, and they keep their conversations to themselves. A shag dries its wings on a rock, and it calls, a harsh, croaking sound. Shags are cormorants, fishing birds with long necks and hooked bills, and they nest on cliffs and islands. Their voices are rough, functional, not musical, but they serve their purpose. Shags call to each other at the nest, and they call when defending their territory. It's a simple language, but effective. A cormorant perches on a buoy, silent. Cormorants rarely call except at the nest, and even then, the sounds are low and guttural. They're efficient birds, focused on fishing, on feeding, on survival, and they don't waste energy on unnecessary vocalization. But silence is also a form of communication. Presence is enough. A storm petrel would call here if it were night, and if you were far out at sea. Their voice is a soft, purring trill delivered from inside their burrows on remote islands. Storm petrels are tiny, delicate seabirds, and they return to land only to breed, spending the rest of their lives over the open ocean. Their voices are part of the hidden world, the secret life of the sea, the places humans rarely go. A Manx shearwater would call here too at night, a strange, wailing, almost unearthly sound that echoes across the islands. Shearwaters nest in burrows, and they call to their mates in the darkness, their voices eerie and otherworldly. People who don't know the sound often find it unsettling, but it's just a bird calling for its partner, navigating by voice in the dark. A dunnock is singing in the garden hedge, a soft, sweet warble, easily overlooked. The dunnock is one of the most common garden birds, but also one of the most unobtrusive. Its voice is gentle, pleasant, but it doesn't demand attention. It just sings quietly in the background, adding to the overall soundscape. Dunnocks have complex social lives, with multiple males and females sometimes sharing territories and raising chicks together. Their calls help navigate these relationships, quiet conversations that maintain the peace. A robin is singing in the garden, and you've heard this voice before, at the start of the morning, at the start of this journey. The robin's song is clear and bright, and it feels like coming home. The robin sings in all seasons, even in winter, and its voice is a constant, a reassurance. The robin is singing now in the fading light, and it's one of the last birds you'll hear before the day ends. Its voice is a benediction, a soft closing, a reminder that tomorrow the songs will begin again. A blackbird is singing in the apple tree, and its voice is rich and full, pouring out into the evening air. The blackbird sings at dawn and at dusk, and its twilight song is slower, more reflective, as if the bird is taking stock of the day, considering what has passed. You listen, and you feel the same. The day is ending, the birds are settling, the world is softening into night. A wren gives one last burst of song from the hedge, loud and defiant, refusing to let the darkness have the final word. Then it falls silent, tucking itself into the ivy, small and safe. A chaffinch calls, a soft pink, and then it too goes quiet. The wood pigeon coos one last time from the oak, a gentle hoo-hoo, and then the woods are still. The birds have said all they need to say, and now they rest. You stand in the meadow, and the light is fading. The sky is soft blue and pink, the first stars appearing. The birds are quiet now, but you can feel their presence all around you, in the trees, in the hedges, in the reeds by the pond. They're there, resting, breathing, alive. All day they've been speaking. Not to you exactly, but you've been listening, and that's enough. You've heard their joy and their warnings, their claims and their questions, their love songs and their lullabies. You've heard the language of the world, the conversation that never stops, the voices that fill every corner of the earth. Birds talk in songs and calls and whistles and trills, in harsh caws and soft coos. They talk to claim space, to find mates, to warn of danger, to keep their families close. They talk to navigate the darkness, to coordinate their flight, to maintain their bonds. They talk because they're alive, and life is, at its heart, a conversation. Some birds sing alone from high perches, pouring their voices into the air. Others sing in groups, their voices blending into a chorus. Some birds are loud and insistent. Others are soft and secretive. Some birds mimic other sounds, creating complex, ever-changing vocabularies. Others repeat the same simple phrase 1,000 times, and it's enough. There's no one way to talk, no one right voice. Every bird has its own, and every voice matters. You think about the robin, the first bird you heard this morning, singing in the dark. You think about the blackbird, improvising its song as the light grew. You think about the wren, so small but so loud, the skylark rising into the sky, singing without ceasing, the wood pigeon, soft and soothing, the crow, harsh but intelligent, the nightingale, the most famous voice of all, though you didn't hear it today, only imagined it, a song waiting in the wings. You think about the migrants, the willow warbler, the chiff-chaff, the swallow, birds that travel thousands of miles to be here, to sing, to raise their young, and then to leave again. Their voices carry the memory of distant places, of deserts and savannas, of journeys taken in darkness, and yet they return year after year to these same woods, these same hedgerows, these same trees, You think about the seabirds, the gulls and terns, the gannets and kittiwakes, the puffins and guillemots. Birds that live at the edge of the world, where land meets water, where the wind is fierce and the waves are wild. Their voices are part of that wildness, part of that freedom. You think about the birds you didn't hear today, the corncrake, the turtle dove, the curlew, birds whose voices are becoming rarer, whose presence is fading. And you feel a sadness, but also a determination to listen more closely, to pay attention, to remember. If you haven't already, please check out the playlist for more of these calming stories. They're there whenever you need them. Every bird has a story. Every voice is a thread in the great tapestry of life. And when you listen, really listen, you realize that you're part of it too. Your breath, your heartbeat, your footsteps on the earth. You're part of the conversation, part of the chorus. The birds don't sing for you, but they don't mind if you listen. They don't need your approval, but they benefit from your care. They ask only to be left in peace, to have space to live and breed and sing. And in return, they give you this, the most beautiful music in the world, free and unending, a gift offered every single day. You think about what you've learned today, that birds talk to each other constantly in ways both simple and complex, that they have songs for territory and calls for danger, that they recognize each other by voice, that they learn from each other, that they pass down dialects and traditions, that they adjust their voices to be heard, singing higher in cities, lower in forests, that they're adaptable, intelligent, creative. You think about how different their world must be from yours, how they experience sound in ways you can't imagine, how they navigate by the stars, by the Earth's magnetic field, by landmarks and memories, how they see colors you can't see, hear frequencies you can't hear, how they live so fully, so intensely, every moment sharp and present. You think about the tiny gold crest, weighing less than a coin, surviving harsh winters, singing from the tops of spruce trees. You think about the Arctic tern, flying from pole to pole, seeing 2 summers a year. You think about the swift, spending almost its entire life in the air, landing only to nest. You think about the tawny owl, hunting in darkness, calling through the woods, the voice of night itself. Every bird is a miracle. Every voice is a wonder. You stand in the meadow, and the stars are brighter now. The moon is rising, pale and soft. The air is cool on your skin. Somewhere in the distance, a tawny owl calls, hoo 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 hoo, and the sound drifts through the trees, deep and resonant, marking the transition from day to night. You take a slow breath, filling your lungs with the cool, clean air. You let it go gently, and you feel your body relax, your shoulders drop, your mind quiet. The birds have taught you something today, though you can't quite put it into words. Something about presence, about patience, about the value of small, persistent efforts, about the beauty of repetition, of ritual, of showing up every day and doing what you're meant to do. The robin sings every morning. The blackbird improvises its song. The wren pours its tiny heart into every note. The skylark rises and sings, never tiring. And they do this not because anyone is watching, not because anyone is listening, but because this is what they are. This is their nature. And maybe that's the lesson, to be what you are, to speak your truth in whatever voice you have, to claim your space gently but firmly, to connect with others, to maintain your bonds, to offer comfort and warning and companionship, to sing even when no one is listening, especially when no one is listening. The owl calls again, farther off now, and you realize you're smiling. You feel light, unburdened, as if something heavy has been lifted from your chest. You feel connected to the birds, to the trees, to the earth beneath your feet, to the sky above your head. You feel part of something vast and ancient and ongoing, a conversation that began long before you were born and will continue long after you're gone. And that's comforting somehow. To know that the birds will keep singing, that the robin will greet the dawn, and the blackbird will improvise at dusk, and the tawny owl will call through the darkness, that the world will keep turning, and the seasons will change, and the migrants will come and go, and life will persist stubbornly, beautifully, endlessly. You take one more breath, deep and slow. You let it go. The meadow is quiet now. The birds are asleep, tucked into their nests and roosts, their heads beneath their wings. They're dreaming, perhaps, small bird dreams of flight and song in the coming day. And you're ready to rest too. You close your eyes for a moment, there in the meadow, and you let the darkness behind your eyelids be soft, welcoming. When you open them again, the stars seem brighter, as if they've been waiting for you to notice them. The moon has climbed higher, casting silver light across the grass, and everything feels hushed, held. You think about the way birds sleep, not deeply, not all at once, but in small increments, one half of their brain resting while the other stays alert. They sleep with one eye open, quite literally, watching for danger even in their rest. It's a kind of vigilance you can't quite imagine, but also a kind of trust that the world will still be there in the morning, that they'll wake and sing again. Some birds sleep alone, hidden in dense foliage or tucked into tree hollows. Others sleep in groups, huddled together for warmth and safety. Long-tailed tits line up on a branch, side by side, their bodies touching, forming a feathery row. Starlings gather in enormous roosts, thousands upon thousands of birds settling into a single tree or reed bed, their combined presence a shield against the cold and the predators. You imagine the warmth of those sleeping birds, the rise and fall of tiny chests, the flutter of feathers in the night breeze. It's a peaceful image, and it makes you feel peaceful too. The night is not silent, even with the birds asleep. There are other sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant bark of a fox, the soft hoot of the tawny owl again, hunting now, gliding on silent wings through the darkness. The owl doesn't sing like the songbirds do. Its voice is functional, territorial, a marker of space and presence. But it's also beautiful in its own way, a deep, resonant note that seems to come from the earth itself. Owls have special feathers that muffle the sound of their flight. They move through the air almost silently, so their prey, mice, voles, shrews, don't hear them coming. But they call to each other, male and female, across the woods, and those calls are loud enough to carry far, to be heard by you, standing in the meadow, listening. You think about how different night birds are from day birds, how they've adapted to a world of darkness, of shadows, of starlight and moonlight instead of sun, how their eyes are huge, their hearing acute, their movements precise, how they occupy the same spaces as the daytime birds, but in a different time, a different world. The nightjar, if it were here, would be hunting now too, catching moths and beetles in midair, its wide mouth open, scooping insects from the sky. Its voice, that strange mechanical churring, would fill the warm night, and you'd lie on your back in the grass looking up at the stars and let the sound wash over you, hypnotic and endless. But it's not the season for nightjars yet. They're still in Africa, still preparing for the long journey north. In a few weeks, they'll arrive, and the night will change, will become richer, fuller, more layered. For now, you have the owl, and that's enough. You hear a distant sound, water moving, the soft lap of the pond's edge. A moorhen shifts in the reeds, making a small, sleepy noise, then settles again. Even the shyest birds are there, always there, just out of sight, living their lives in the margins, in the hidden places. If you've found comfort in this story, please leave a like. It helps others discover this space too. You think about the dawn chorus, which you heard at the beginning of this journey, how it builds slowly, one voice at a time, until the air is full of song, how each bird has its place in the sequence, the robin first, then the blackbird, then the wren, the thrushes, the warblers, each one joining in at its appointed time, as if following some ancient unwritten rule. Scientists have studied the dawn chorus, trying to understand why birds sing so intensely at daybreak. Some say it's because the air is still and sound carries better. Some say it's because the light is too dim for feeding, so the birds use the time to sing instead. Some say it's a test of strength. Only healthy, well-fed birds can afford to sing so loudly, so early, so the dawn chorus is a kind of audition, a display of fitness. But maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe the birds sing at dawn because they're happy to be alive, because they've survived the night and the world is waking and there's light and warmth and possibility ahead. Maybe they sing because singing is what they do, and dawn is the best time to do it. You like that idea? Singing not because you have to, but because you can, because you're here and the day is new, and there's joy in that, however small, however fleeting. The owl calls once more, a soft hoot that fades into the distance. You imagine it landing on a low branch, a small rodent in its talons, feeding in the darkness. The owl is part of the cycle too, the great wheel of life that turns constantly, day and night, predator and prey, birth and death and birth again. It's not sad when you think about it. It's just the way things are. Everything eats and is eaten. Everything sings and falls silent. Everything lives and dies and returns to the earth. And from the earth, new life grows. The birds are part of this, and so are you. And there's a strange comfort in that continuity, that connection. You think about the way bird voices change over a lifetime. How young birds learn to sing by listening to their fathers, their neighbors, practicing over and over until they get it right. How some species have dialects, local variations that mark a bird as belonging to a particular place. How individual birds can be recognized by subtle differences in their songs. A note held longer, a trill added, a rhythm shifted. You think about how this means every bird you've heard today is unique. Not just a robin, but that robin with its particular voice, its particular history. Not just a blackbird, but that blackbird, improvising in its own way, different from all the others. It makes the world feel richer, more intricate. Not just types and categories, but individuals, each one mattering, each one contributing something irreplaceable to the whole. You shift your weight slightly, feeling the cool grass beneath you, the solidity of the earth. The night air moves gently across your face, carrying with it the scent of growing things, grass and leaves and damp soil. Somewhere far off, a dog barks once, then stops. A car passes on a distant road, its sound fading quickly into the quiet. The human world is there, always there, but right now, it feels far away. Right now, you're in the bird's world, the world of natural rhythms and ancient patterns, the world that existed long before humans and will exist long after. You think about migration, about the incredible journeys birds undertake twice a year, how a tiny willow warbler, weighing less than a handful of feathers, flies from sub-Saharan Africa to northern Europe, crossing deserts and seas, navigating by stars and magnetic fields and landmarks remembered from previous years. How it arrives here, exhausted but alive, and immediately begins singing, claiming territory, finding a mate, building a nest. How, a few months later, it will make the journey back thousands of miles in the opposite direction and do it all again next year, if it survives. The odds are against it. Many migrants don't make it. Storms, predators, exhaustion, disorientation. But enough do. Enough survive to keep the cycle going, to ensure that every spring the willow warblers return and their soft descending songs fill the trees again. It's a kind of faith, you think. Not religious faith, but ecological faith. The faith that the world will still be there, that the right conditions will exist, that the journey is worth making, the faith to keep going, even when the odds are terrible, even when the distance is vast, even when there are no guarantees. Birds don't think about it the way you do, of course. They just do it. It's instinct, encoded in their DNA, a pull they can't resist. But watching it, thinking about it, you feel something like awe, something like gratitude. These small creatures, so fragile, so vulnerable, accomplish things you can barely imagine. And they do it every year, without fanfare, without recognition, simply because it's what they must do to survive. You think about the Arctic tern again, that astonishing bird that sees more daylight than any other creature on Earth. Pole to pole, summer to summer, an endless loop of light. What must that be like? To live in perpetual day, to follow the sun around the world, never stopping, never settling, always moving. The Arctic tern's voice is sharp, nasal, insistent, a voice built for long distances, for calling across ice and ocean. It's not a beautiful voice, not in the conventional sense, but it's powerful, effective, suited perfectly to the life the bird leads. Every bird's voice is like that, adapted, honed, shaped by evolution and environment to serve a specific purpose. The wren's loud song for defending tiny territories in dense undergrowth. The skylark's continuous song for attracting mates in wide open spaces. The owl's deep hoot for carrying through dark forests. The seagull's harsh cry for cutting through wind and waves. Form follows function, and yet there's beauty in it. Beauty in the fit, in the rightness of it all. You think about the birds that don't migrate, the residents that stay here year-round. The robin, singing even in winter, its voice the only bright note in the cold, gray days. The blackbird, hardy and adaptable. The wren, tiny but tough, surviving somehow through frost and snow. The tawny owl hunting through the long winter nights. These birds face different challenges than the migrants. They must endure the cold, find food when food is scarce, survive the dark months when the days are short and the nights are long. But they do, they persist. And when spring comes, they're already here, already established, ready to breed and raise their young before the migrants even arrive. There's no one right strategy. Migration and residency both work, both have their advantages and costs. The world is big enough for both, and the birds fill every niche, every possibility, every available space. You think about bird families, about the care parents give to their young, how they build nests with such precision, such attention to detail, woven grasses, moss, mud, spider silk, feathers, how they incubate the eggs, keeping them warm, turning them regularly, protecting them from predators, how they feed the chicks, making hundreds of trips a day, carrying insects and caterpillars and seeds, stuffing food into gaping mouths that are never satisfied. How exhausting it must be, how relentless. And yet, the parents do it day after day until the chicks fledge and fly and leave the nest. Some species, like long-tailed tits, have helpers, older siblings from earlier broods who stay and assist with feeding the new chicks. It's cooperation, family working together for the survival of the next generation. Other species, like cuckoos, don't raise their own young at all. They lay their eggs in other birds' nests and leave the foster parents to do the work. It seems cruel, almost parasitic, and in a sense it is. But it's also a strategy that works, that has worked for millions of years. The cuckoo survives, the host species survives, the system persists. Nature is neither cruel nor kind, it simply is. And within that there's infinite variety, infinite adaptation, infinite creativity. You take another slow breath, and you feel your body sinking deeper into relaxation. Your muscles are loose, your mind quiet, the thoughts come and go like clouds, and you let them. Not holding on, not pushing away. The meadow holds you, the earth holds you, the night holds you. And somewhere in the trees, the sleeping birds hold you too, in their way, simply by being there, by existing, by continuing. You think about bird intelligence, about the crows and ravens who use tools, solve puzzles, remember human faces, even hold grudges. About the magpies who recognize themselves in mirrors, one of the few non-mammal species that can. About the parrots who learn not just to mimic words, but to use them meaningfully, to ask questions, to express preferences, to joke. Birds are not simple creatures. Their brains are small, but they're densely packed with neurons, wired differently than mammal brains, but no less sophisticated in some ways. They think, they plan, they remember, they grieve. You've heard stories of birds mourning their dead, gathering around a fallen companion, calling softly, standing vigil. You've heard of birds bringing food to injured mates, caring for them, refusing to leave. You've heard of birds playing just for the joy of it, crows sliding down snowy roofs, ravens tumbling in the air, parrots dancing to music. There's more going on behind those bright eyes than most people realize. More feeling, more awareness, more presence. And their voices reflect that. When a crow calls to warn others of danger, it's not a mindless reflex. It's communication, deliberate and meaningful. When a parrot asks for a treat, it knows what it's saying. When a songbird improvises a new phrase, it's creating, experimenting, expressing something that might, in a very real sense, be called art. You think about the relationship between humans and birds, how we've always been drawn to them, these creatures that can do what we cannot, fly. How we've envied them, admired them, hunted them, kept them as pets, written about them, painted them, woven them into our myths and stories. how the dove became a symbol of peace, the owl of wisdom, the eagle of power, the robin of hope. How we've learned from birds, their migrations taught us about navigation, their flight inspired our aircraft, their songs influenced our music. How we've also harmed them, destroyed their habitats, polluted their air and water, introduced predators, changed the climate. How many species are declining, struggling, disappearing. How the soundscape is getting quieter year by year as bird populations fall. And how, despite all that, the birds persist. They adapt. They find new ways to survive. They sing in cities, nest on buildings, learn to avoid traffic, adjust their breeding times to match changing seasons. They're resilient, tougher than they look, more resourceful than we give them credit for. But they need our help. They need us to preserve wild spaces, to reduce pesticide use, to keep cats indoors, to make windows visible, to slow down climate change. They need us to listen, to care, to act. And in return, they give us so much. Beauty, wonder, connection, a reminder that we're not alone in the world, that life is everywhere, singing, calling, thriving, persisting. If you're moved by these stories, please consider sharing this in the comments. I'd love to know what resonates with you. You think about the first time you really listened to birds. Maybe it was a long time ago, or maybe it's happening right now, in this moment, in this meadow, under these stars. Whenever it was, there was a shift, a change in awareness, a sudden realization that the world is full of voices you'd been ignoring, full of beauty you'd been missing. And once you start listening, you can't stop. You notice birds everywhere, in parks, in gardens, in hedgerows, on rooftops. You start recognizing voices, identifying species by ear. You start paying attention to the rhythms of the day, the changing chorus as the seasons turn. It's like learning a new language, except the language was always there, always being spoken, and you're just finally tuning in. And it changes you somehow, makes you more present, more aware, more connected, makes you realize that you're part of something larger, something ancient and ongoing and infinitely complex. The birds don't need you to listen. They'd sing whether you heard them or not. But listening enriches your life, makes it fuller, deeper, more textured, and maybe, just maybe, it makes you want to protect what you're hearing, to preserve these voices for future generations. You think about children hearing birds for the first time, how their faces light up when they spot a robin, how they laugh at the antics of sparrows, how they ask endless questions. What's that one called? Why is it singing? Where does it go at night? And you try to answer as best you can. And in answering, you learn too, because explaining something to a child forces you to think clearly, to distill complexity into simplicity, to find the essence of the thing. And the essence of birds, maybe, is this. They live fully, intensely, in the moment. They don't worry about the past or the future. They sing because it's morning. They call because there's danger. They feed their young because the young are hungry. They migrate because the seasons change. They do what they need to do when they need to do it, without overthinking, without hesitation. There's a lesson in that for those willing to learn it. You think about the last time you saw a bird up close. Maybe it was a robin in the garden, hopping across the lawn, pausing to listen for worms. Maybe it was a pigeon on a city street, pecking at crumbs, unbothered by the crowds. Maybe it was a duck on a pond, preening its feathers, content in its small world. Whatever it was, you remember the details, the brightness of the eye, the pattern of the feathers, the quick, jerky movements. You remember thinking how strange it was, how alien, how different from you, and yet how alive, how present, how real. Birds remind us that we share the world with countless other beings, each with their own lives, their own purposes, their own stories. We're not alone. We're never alone. We're surrounded by life, constantly, if we just open our eyes and ears to notice it. The night is deepening now. The moon is high, and its light makes everything silver and soft. The grass seems to glow faintly, and when you move your hand, the dewdrops catch the light like tiny stars. You think about how many nights like this have passed. How many will come? Nights when the moon rose and the birds slept and the world turned quiet and sure. Millions of nights, billions, stretching back through time to the very beginning, when the first birds sang, when the first feathers grew, when flight was invented. Birds are old, older than mammals, older than flowers, older than almost anything else you can see around you. They descended from dinosaurs, and some of them, the owls, the ducks, the shorebirds, have been around, virtually unchanged, for tens of millions of years. When you hear a bird sing, you're hearing an echo of the ancient world, a voice that has persisted through ice ages and mass extinctions, through the rise and fall of continents, through changes so vast you can barely comprehend them. And yet the song remains. Different birds, different species, but the same impulse: to sing, to call, to communicate, to claim, to attract, to warn, to comfort. It's continuity. It's persistence. It's life refusing to give up, no matter what. You think about silence, about what the world would be like without bird voices, how empty it would feel, how dead. Even in cities, where the natural world has been pushed to the margins, birds are there, filling the gaps, reclaiming spaces, singing from rooftops and parking garages and scraggly urban trees. Take away the birds, and the silence would be unbearable. We need them more than we realize, not just ecologically, though they pollinate flowers, disperse seeds, control insects, but emotionally, spiritually. We need their voices to remind us that the world is alive, that beauty exists, that there's more to life than work and worry and the daily grind. We need to hear the robin in the morning, the owl at night, the swallow in summer, the goose in winter. We need these markers, these rhythms, these reassurances. And so we must protect them. We must make space for them. We must listen. You think about the future, about whether your children or your children's children will hear the same bird voices you're hearing now. Whether the nightingale will still sing in the woods, whether the curlew will still call on the moors, whether the turtle dove will still coo in the hedgerows. Some of these voices are fading. Some may disappear entirely within your lifetime. And that's a grief, a loss, a silence that can never be filled. But some voices are growing stronger. Some species are recovering, thriving, adapting. And that's a hope, a joy, a reason to keep trying. The future is not written. The bird story is still being told, and you're part of it, whether you realize it or not. Every action you take or don't take affects them. Every choice matters, and maybe that's overwhelming. Maybe it's too much to think about right now on this quiet night in this soft meadow. Maybe what you need is just to be here, to breathe, to listen to the owl, to feel the earth beneath you and the sky above you, and know that in this moment, all is well. You take another breath, slow, deep, filling your lungs completely. You hold it for a moment, feeling the fullness, the presence. Then you let it go, gently. And with it goes some of the tension, some of the worry, some of the weight. The birds are sleeping, the world is turning, the stars are shining. And you are here, alive, breathing, part of it all. That's enough. That's everything. You close your eyes again, and this time you let them stay closed. You sink into the darkness, into the quiet, into the stillness. You let go of thoughts, of questions, of concerns. You let yourself just be. And somewhere, deep in the trees, a bird shifts on its perch, tucks its head more securely under its wing, and sleeps. And you sleep too, or something like sleep, a deep rest, a letting go, a trust that the world will hold you while you rest. And when you wake, whether in a moment or an hour or at dawn, the birds will still be there. They'll be stirring as the light grows, shaking out their feathers, beginning to call. The robin will sing first, as always, its voice bright and clear in the gray light. Then the blackbird, then the wren, then all the others, joining in one by one, until the air is full of song again. It will be a new day, but also the same day, the eternal day that has been happening since birds first learned to sing. The sun will rise, the birds will greet it, the world will continue, and you'll be part of it. You'll listen, and you'll remember this night, this journey through bird voices, this quiet exploration of the way birds talk. You'll remember the meadow, the moonlight, the owl's call, the feeling of peace that settled over you like a blanket. You'll carry it with you, this peace, this connection, this awareness. And when the world gets too loud, too harsh, too overwhelming, you'll remember the birds. You'll step outside, or you'll just pause for a moment and listen, and you'll hear them singing, calling, living their lives, doing what they do. And it will be enough. It will be a reminder that life is bigger than your worries, that beauty still exists, that there are voices worth listening to, conversations worth joining, even if you can only listen, even if you never speak. The birds will teach you if you let them. They'll teach you about persistence, about adaptation, about the value of song, about the importance of territory and family and community. They'll teach you about migration and homecoming, about silence and noise, about the rhythms of day and night, season and year. They'll teach you about being present, about doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, without complaint, without hesitation, about singing even when no one is listening, about calling even when no one answers, about continuing even when the journey is hard. They'll teach you about joy, the simple, uncomplicated joy of being alive, of having a voice, of using it. And maybe, in the end, that's what this whole journey has been about. Not facts or information, though there's been plenty of that, but feeling, connection, the sense that you're not alone in the world, that there are other voices, other lives, other stories happening all around you, constantly, endlessly, beautifully. The birds talk. They've always talked. They'll keep talking as long as there are birds, as long as there's air to carry the sound, as long as there are ears to hear. And you're one of those ears. You're listening, and that matters. So rest now. Let the night hold you. Let the earth support you. Let the stars watch over you. Let the sleeping birds keep their vigil one eye open, one half of the brain alert, while the other half dreams. And when morning comes, when the robin sings and the new day begins, you'll be ready. You'll listen. You'll breathe. You'll be present. You'll be part of the conversation, the great ongoing dialogue of life, the symphony of voices that fills the world. And you'll be grateful for the birds, for their songs, for this moment, for this breath, for this life. Close your eyes now. Feel the softness all around you. Feel the peace settling in your chest, your shoulders, your hands. Feel yourself drifting gently, like a leaf on a slow stream, like a feather on a soft breeze, like a bird gliding on warm air, wings spread, weightless, free. The birds are talking. They're always talking. And you're listening. And that's beautiful. Rest now. All is well. All is well.